But I've also seen people who are suffering a lot. And when they come in for a reading and they're suffering and they're suffering and suffering, and then they come in for a reading and it's like, holy smokes, this person is an ascended person.
Hmm.
They are already there. And they're waiting for us to kind of arrive and get it. And yet they're functioning and they're totally suffering at that human level. That's where my head kind of got a little bit twisted
Mm,
because then let's say that that suffering friend you are supporting and supporting and supporting and supporting, and then you get on the other side of the pearly gates and they're there waiting for you,
mm,
their grandness, and you're like, but wait a minute, I thought you weren't going to make it. I didn't
mm,
know you were that far ahead of me. I might
mm.
have let you just do your own thing for a while.
What have
So
had you do help me out?
that's right. Exactly. That's the point that I'm trying to make.
Hello and welcome to Priestess of Ordinary Things, a podcast for spiritual misfits, modern mystics, and folks of all genders tasked with tending the sacred within everyday life. My name is Kate Fontana. I'm a psychic, a pagan priestess with Christian vibes, and mentor to the spiritual fringe. I help spiritual misfits like you connect in down-to-earth ways to your innate resilient center and to nurture reluctant leaders on their sacred priestess path. Welcome. This is part 2 of my conversation with Nancy Rebecca. There's plenty to get from this episode standalone, but if you enjoy it, go ahead and have a listen to the previous episode for the full conversation. Enjoy!
I do think with what's going on in the world, I do find myself going, what the heck?
Mm,
And I do know that we can just be going through it over the next few years because we know that when what I know to be true is what I believe in the book of Nancy, but I believe in that we have the potential to fly. We have the potential to levitate. We have the potential to, I love quantum physics. That's my new big thing now. Like our our whole systems being reworked and realigned and restructured and coming back together so that we are more efficient. But then it's like, well, then what's happening to that person over there that they're making all these crappy decisions, you know?
mhm, mhm.
And it's like, I give myself time to go there. I let myself be human. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I just let myself be totally human. How long do you need to be human? How long do you need to kick the dirt? How long do you need to throw a few rocks at people? And like, okay, now let's go a little deeper and let's try to settle it through meditation and things like that. So my big message a lot of times is um try not to ignore those human parts. Let them have a voice because we just get sick if we try to suppress it.
Mhm. One place that's taking me is something I think you've seen me struggle with through the psychic work is, and through sort of the, you know, alchemical portal of these times, where I I do believe there's a, a great transformation and unveiling, apocalypse means unveiling.
Yes.
Um, I do believe that that is happening, and so many like prophecies from cultures around the world and indigenous prophecies talk about these times, and I do struggle in my own humanness, but also in the level of suffering that
Yeah.
it is happening as a result or as part of this transformative time. And one memory I'm having is of a meditation you led. It was something to the effect of like, we're going through a doorway. We're all approaching a doorway and like or a portal, and it's taking us to the fifth dimension. And like where so one of the styles that you of teaching that you do and of guiding is like you kind of paint the scene for us, and then we have to kind of experience it for us and get the messages for ourselves in it. And you know, some people are just like racing through the portal, and they're just like, you know, spring loaded, like can't wait. And I remember like I would let myself kind of step a toe into the through the portal, but I just like couldn't leave people behind. And I I do struggle with that, and I struggle with that in the, you know, in sort of the culture of like of spirituality and what we do with the many who are suffering and who won't make it through, you know, this time in their particular incarnation that they're in. And I mean, partially I have to trust that everyone is on their own karmic path, and that's true. And I can be responsible for my particular sphere of influence. But that's a hard piece for me. Yeah, about the this being a time of transformation that has an ultimate like spiritually evolving end, but great cost.
So, so have you asked your higher self, your spirit, about that?
I guess
Or,
I need to ask more.
yeah,
Yeah, thank
yeah,
you for saying that.
yeah, yeah, because I did, you
Uh-huh.
know, and I'm I'm one of the people that I don't feel that it's hierarchical, and I also don't feel it's us or them. And there are um, what I've grown to know now in the suffering. Now, here's where I just don't get it, you know, where it's like, how can you not see the suffering of the world if you have the ability to contribute in a way that can be helpful, then why aren't you, and I'm talking about in political situations. You know, I just went to Egypt, and you've got Sudan and Syria and Palestine and Egypt, you know, all around it. And, you know, and people are just having to escape that kind of stuff. And it's just like, how, in what world of the universe is any of that ever okay? So I get that. But I've also seen people who are suffering a lot. And when they come in for a reading and they're suffering and they're suffering and suffering, and then they come in for a reading and it's like, holy smokes, this person is an ascended person.
Hmm.
They are already there. And they're waiting for us to kind of arrive and get it. And yet they're functioning and they're totally suffering at that human level. That's where my head kind of got a little bit twisted,
Mm,
because then let's say that that suffering friend you are supporting and supporting and supporting and supporting, and then you get on the other side of the pearly gates and they're there waiting for you,
mm,
their grandness, and you're like, but wait a minute, I thought you weren't going to make it. I didn't
mm,
know you were that far ahead of me. I might
mm.
have let you just do your own thing for a while.
Would have
So
had you do help me out.
that's right. Exactly. That's the point that I'm trying to make. And this kind of came around in 2007 when I was having all these conversations where in the spiritual world, they can look down and just kind of like, they have no idea who they're dealing with. Like, this
Mm,
person has so much ability. And so now, so I always ask people to be careful about assumptions.
mhm,
And then, you know, like I tell people, one of my top things that I came to work on, I've been working on for lifetimes, is guilt. You know, like, you do something, I'm going to feel guilty about it. And I wasn't even there, you know. And so then you could assume, if you knew nothing about me, that I'm struggling with guilt and I'm suffering with guilt and I can't get over the guilt. And yet that's what I came to work on in this lifetime
Mm.
was guilt, but I have a lot of spiritual ability, but I can get hooked by guilt. I'm happy to say my guilt's gone now and I won't have to do another lifetime with it. But sometimes, and so then I said, so why is it that I'm meditating? I've cleared so much. So why is it that this stuff seems to come up again and again and again? And then Spirit
Mm.
told me, because you're now clearing for the collective.
Mm. Mhm.
So there can be really beautiful souls that are right there on the path of us, and they are so evolved that they are capable and able to clear the collective.
Mhm.
So it's really about you do you, I'll do me, and I'm not going to worry about whatever you're doing with you, and you don't worry about me. I've got this, and let everybody be in their corner unless they ask for help or imply that they might need some help. And then you say, what would feel supportive for you,
Yeah.
rather than I know what you need. So I'm going through, all of this right now as it's like, oh, because when you're a healer, right? It's like you just want to make things better. So I do not believe the blue beings of light told me if everybody's standing in the street, it doesn't matter if you're black, yellow, white, green, purple. It doesn't matter if you don't have a pot to piss in or you've got trillions of dollars. Everybody gets wet.
Mm.
Everybody gets rained on by consciousness.
Mm.
Everybody gets changed by consciousness. And it's not an either or.
Mm.
Yeah. And so I know
Mm.
that at the spiritual level, but I can still, as a nurse, as a mother, as a grandmother, I can still get caught. It's like, oh, why do they have to suffer so much? And leaving behind what I've learned in 30 years is I just keep doing me. And I can't tell you how many people they more of them left me behind because had stepped into the crazy land, but they've come back around again. And I just had somebody the other day just contact me that I haven't seen in 30 years. And it's just like, I've been watching all your videos. Like they would not talk to me. If they saw me, they walk the other direction. And
Mm. Mm.
wow, you've got a lot of subscribers on YouTube. Oh, you have a lot of people watch you on Facebook. And now all of a sudden I'm like a celebrity. And it's like, no, I'm the same person I was. Isn't that funny?
Mhm.
And now
Mhm.
this person values me as somebody who's worth listening to. So I go, okay. What I'm trying to say is it'll come full circle. You just
Yeah.
keep, yeah. But it is tough to leave. You can perceive leaving people behind or,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's some of my karmic sorting out.
right.
Um, I'm thinking of one of the early lessons, which I got both from the somatics training that I did, and then also with the psychic training, is like, um, don't get tangled up in other people's grounding. Like
Yeah.
the that there's the sort of the rest that's part of like our rescue impulse,
Yeah.
particularly as healers. And if you sense someone else's grounding being unstable, that's the cue for you to ground more.
Yes. Yes. And then
Yeah.
they'll either match or not match, but most of the times they'll match, and it's
Yeah.
fine. We'll go stand next to somebody who just feels good. We don't even know it consciously.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Is there something that has been coming through recently that you feel most excited about or that feels like most important for people to hear?
That we're going to be okay
Mm.
and that we're going to be better than okay.
Mm. Hmm.
And thing, I think that's the biggest thing because it doesn't seem like there's many things tangible. At times, it can feel like there's nothing really tangible to validate that. And, um, and that there's a beautiful world out there. It's, and I haven't always felt that way, because I was really surrounded, when in my early years around uh, people who I felt had higher value than I had, or I valued their opinion more than my own, or and then I went through a phase, what if I'm wrong? Like it feels like everything's going to be okay, but what if I'm wrong? I don't want to lead anybody astray. But the big thing is that your biggest strength is your inner wisdom and your inner navigation system. And we really are there. There are just no external teachers that can even compare to your internal teacher. And I get it, when you can't trust it and things like that. But when push comes to shove, this is what I love. Like if you're being chased by a bear through the forest, and
Mm-hmm.
you're running through your life for your life, and you decide to turn this way and move up here, jump, swim across the water, like you're making these fast decisions, where does that come from? It's
Mm-hmm.
coming from your intuition. You don't have to sit and contemplate it for a long time. You don't have to do a tarot card reading. You don't have to do, throw stones, and you don't have to do all this stuff. It's like you've got this natural instinct that's going to lead you in the right direction. And that's your intuition and your inner guidance system. And people are incredible. They're just like, every time I meet people, it's like, oh my gosh, like you're so incredible. And yet it's hard for us to see how incredible we are on the inside. And
Mm.
whenever I check with my spirit, I'm just like, okay, am I on track here? And my spirit's like, you're so friggin' awesome. You're the most awesome, It's like, and that's how your spirit talks to you. A lot of times
Mm.
when people come in for readings, they're so afraid that their spirit's just going to admonish them.
I find that too. Yes, they're waiting for their dirty laundry to get aired.
And it just doesn't.
Uh-huh.
It's like, it's just, and if there is any dirty laundry, it's spirit's so great about saying why you needed to dirty the waters. Why did you muddle the mind? Why, there's always these underlying really great spiritual reasons. But I guess if I were just to share, with the world, is listen to your intuition. It's and yeah, sign up for those classes, or spend time with different teachers. Not that they don't have your answers 100%, but their work can really inspire. Like a lot of times my students, they'll say, I don't think I've ever felt so grounded in my life. And it's like, well, I've cultivated grounding for a while. Or they'll say, suddenly I can start seeing things. And it's like, so when you're maybe standing next to a person who's clairvoyant, your clairvoyance may open up, or you're around people that feel good, and then you feel good and you're like, oh my gosh, I thought I was going to have to feel bad for the rest of my life.
Mm.
You get those little moments, but your spirit divinely puts you in all the places that you need to be, even if it's for you to see you don't need to be there, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this morning I did pull a card because that's a tool I like to use.
I like to pull cards too, just not when I'm
Um,
running from a bear.
yeah, for sure. And oftentimes, I mean, I think we find this in readings too. Oftentimes, it's kind of just the affirmation of something we were like, I kind of think this is true, but I don't really, maybe I don't want to think it's true, or it's sort of seeing it out of my peripheral vision, or um, so yeah, I often find that those are just those little affirmations. And the card that I pulled, because I was asking about like, I did a little spread about like what I'm leaving behind, what I'm moving towards, who my allies are, what my obstacles are. And the allies card was the devil. And it just made me laugh because I actually have already been, just in the last couple of weeks, I've been like really trying to get really real and really honest about, little things I complain about or little things that's like I'm not that I don't love about myself or like circumstances, and just like really turn to them with love and curiosity, and like
Yeah.
trying to have a sense of embrace with them. And the devil card, at least in this deck, was about like addiction and like patterns of kind of negative patterns or patterns of destruction. And when I held that in the space of like an ally, it just it really turned some things on its head. Um, and it also, so I was telling my partner about this as we were going for a walk, and we just moved into the country, and you know, most likely into like deep Trump territory, if I'll
Hmm.
just be straight up about the politics here. And I had less feelings about that personally, because everyone we've met is super neighborly.
Exactly. Yeah.
And our closer neighbors have just said like, as long as you don't talk politics, everyone is lovely. And so I was telling Coda about I pulled the devil card, and it's about like allying with your enemies basically, and they were like, oh, so the Trump supporters. And I was like, I hadn't thought of it that way, but that kind of is the world we're in right now. Like our neighbor next just yesterday was like talking to us about different things, and just was like, yeah, I'm a gun guy and I'm probably not going to stick around here much longer because of all the gun regulations. And I wouldn't call myself a gun lady, but like they're a neighbor. And he was also like, yeah, if you ever need help, you know, chainsawing a tree or like moving something heavy, call me up. It's so it does feel like back, I guess, back to the spirit of curiosity, and just like
Exactly.
embracing the wisdom in anything we may be encountering, like
Yeah.
internally and
Yeah.
externally.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. When I was in South Africa once, and I went to stay in this bush camp, and it was just like hard going to get in this bush camp. And it was called a hunter's camp. So they have hunters that come from all over the world to kill wild game. Now, I did not know this when I rented the place to stay. And I took my own food in and all that stuff. And it was my brother and sister-in-law were with me, and my friend Donna was with me. And so that you can have these elephants that just can come through there, and they just kind of hang out in the river that's just like 20 feet out front, the front door of your cabin. So it still is probably the single most beautiful place I've ever been in my life. Like the earth
mm,
energy was like 50 feet high,
mm,
but the guy was totally opposite of everything I was in. He didn't believe in the spiritual stuff, as a matter of fact, thought I was a whack job, and he was into guns and hunting and all that stuff, which I'm not against any of that, but politically he had some views that were. And anyway, so we're hiking. He's got his rifle, which, I'm probably glad, because you don't know if you're going to get charged by a rhino or whatever, or these big elephant packs. So we're walking along. I don't know. We're talking about something. And I said, in the regular world, I wouldn't give you the time of day.
mm,
And he said,
mhm.
I was thinking the same thing. And I'm like, but I really like you. And he goes, I was thinking the same thing. We put our arms
Oh,
around each other, and you just realize it's you do you, I do me, and be okay with that,
mhm,
and it's not easy. No, I don't think any spiritual person has it easy. If they have been doing a lot of meditation for a long time. And I guess people who haven't, a lot of times they might think I have it together,
mm,
you
mhm,
know, and I don't. I still have my off days, and my body, can run amok, with all the shifts. So just a couple days ago, we had some bombs go off in the world, and I just kind of went down, and I didn't know the bombs had gone off. But suddenly I felt like I had the flu and my body hurt all over. Like I just went from feeling great to not feeling great suddenly. And it was like I was nauseated, and I'm like, am I coming down with the flu? Like, what the heck? Like it just, the light switch just went on. Then I
Mm-hmm.
heard the news, and then I was able to do something about it. It's like, oh, okay. So that happened halfway around the world, but I felt the shock wave go through my energy field. And that's
Mm-hmm.
all that I'm teaching people is how to not to have opinions and not to try to change, we can change us and we can still keep moving forward. But when we lose the wind out of our sails, like how can we get that energy back? What steps can we take? And I was able to do that just to ground myself and release the impact and kind of see where maybe that hit me in my aura and just get my aura calm back down again. And so
Mm-hmm.
these tools that I teach are it's all for practical living so you can become independent and your ability to have the life that you live. But
Mm-hmm.
we don't wake up singing, you know, this little light of mine is always going to shine, because it just doesn't always feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why this question is coming, but do you one thing that I learned from you is doing past life readings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you have a sense of a past life of yours that feels significant, or who or what you were in a past life?
There, yeah, there's been a lot of different past lives that I've looked at, and more so early at the beginning of my development to try to understand this world. In the beginning, a lot came up about Germany and the German War and the Holocaust. So that's been probably a string or a strand that's come up, and it's come up a lot in people I've
Mm,
read. And I do really feel like a lot of us have come back to try to do it differently and
mm,
try to rework it, um, try to make different choices and to heal it. And I really feel like that's really in our face in the world right now, because it's so mimicking, what
mm-hmm,
happened during that time. Because there was a time when Spirit told me, we want you to go hold gatherings of anybody who thinks they were in the Holocaust in a past life. And I'm just like,
mm,
no, I do a lot of things. I'm not going to do that. I felt like way out of my league. But recently, the more connections I'm having are very deep shamanic, deep in the Amazon, deep in the forest, deep in the underground, deep, like my dreams are full of exactly the same thing. And it's incredible. But
mm,
the memories I had before a lot were of suffering,
mm,
and now less so. Mongolian is a big one that comes up, like with the falcons, and the
mm, mm,
horses and the
mm,
drumming and the singing. That comes up a lot. But in the past, it was a lot of war scenes and stuff that came up. So I really do know that we're part of this, of the collective in the world. It's not random, and we're all helping to turn that big piece of
mm-hmm,
collective conscious, turn it over.
mm-hmm. That does seem really relevant given that it's, one of the areas of the world is Israel and Palestine
Yeah.
and kind of the ancestral trauma being getting
Yeah.
processed there.
Yeah. That goes way, 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 way back. Yeah.
Hmm. And I'm also thinking about, how much travel you have done. And I remember you saying a long time ago something to the effect of like, you've talked about the techniques that you use with people from various cultures worldwide. And my memory is that you often found that there were like kind of culturally equivalent
Yeah.
versions
Yeah.
in so many of the different cultures that you spent time in with the teachers that you spent time with.
Yeah, one of my most favorite. So definitely in New Zealand, it's almost exact. In the Maori, it's shocking how almost exact it is, but it's just shocking. And definitely I've learned this in other places. But my biggest story, that I can share if we have time,
Hmm.
is I was teaching in South Africa, and in the classes, they have the largest population of people for East Indians in South Africa, outside of India. And
Mm,
they have a large Muslim community, and of course, English and Dutch and all of that. But when I would teach classes, like let's say there'd be 30 people in the class, you might have 15 who are Hindu and 15 who are Muslim.
mm,
And so I would teach the section on past lives, and the Hindus would be like, yeah, it's like
mm,
going into
mhm,
past lives. And they have the Muslims saying, I can't do this. This is against my religion.
mhm,
And so for me, it was really interesting to have those experiences. So one day I got a call from a woman. So she was probably in her 20s, taken the courses. She was Hindu. She calls and she said, I was wondering, I'd like to invite you over to meet my parents want to meet you. I said, oh, that would be awesome. And so she says, my father is my guru. And I thought, wow, she really thinks highly of her father. Well, it turns out he really was her guru.
mm.
There was
Wow.
this huge
Mhm,
temple, and he held, all the gatherings and things like that. Like it was huge. Like when Yvonne and I went to his house, like the living room, I can't even describe how big the living room was. It's just like 2,400 square feet or something, and it had all the pillows on the floor. And so he's there, and he's having somebody come serve us tea. And he said, so you teach these, you're teaching these classes. My daughter's really been enjoying them. She's taking these classes. And where did you learn them? And so I explained that I learned them here in America, and that they had initially come from somewhere in California. And then my teacher learned them, and then blah, 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 whatever the story is. And I said, and from what I understand, when it was initially started in California, that someone came from India, and it was taught by oral tradition. And I was taught by oral tradition. We were not even allowed to take notes. And so then I talked about the different techniques, and he said, oh, he's just listening. Oh, 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 oh. And he said, they're teaching you by oral tradition. They did a very good job because the
mm.
level of accuracy is very high. And my daughter's enjoying taking the classes. And so I said, does it bother you that I'm teaching your daughter? And he said, not at all. He said, the techniques you teach, we all teach our children starting at the age of 3.
Mm,
And we teach them, they learn, they know how to grow up with they meditate, they create and release roses, they do all this stuff.
mm.
And he said, but here's the thing. He said, my daughter kept telling me, these are old fashioned, these are old fashioned. We need to be modern. We need to be more modern. And he goes, but now you have 2 women from America coming to teach it. And all of a sudden she thinks it's cool again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was in India, and I kept running into this woman. I have a rule that if I run into someone 3 times that I don't know, then we have to have tea or something because we have a connection. And there was a woman, a Swami Ma. I ran into her 3 times, once coming out of the bathroom, and it was hysterical how we kept running into each other. And she, I said, I finally realized our connection was that we had been sisters in a past life. And she was the keynote speaker. Like she's a big deal.
Mm,
All the
mhm.
ropes and people are bowing and all this stuff. But I saw her sitting on a stone wall, and I go walking up to her, and I said, I hope you don't mind me interrupting. And she said, no, not at all. And I said, you and I were sisters in a past life. And oh my gosh, she jumped off that wall and she hugged me and
Mm.
she said, you remembered, you
Oh,
remembered. I didn't know you would remember. And after that, we were just an arm in arm the whole time.
wow.
And but I got to ask her a lot about the techniques, and yep, they're still alive and well in many
Mm,
places in the world.
mm.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I want to honor your time. This has been so rich. I find this with all the conversations I have with people, we could take any of the topics and go so much more deeply.
Yeah.
But this has been so lovely, Nancy. I'm so grateful for you as my teacher and for your presence in the world, and for you taking the time to talk with me today.
Well, thank you. And I wanted to, because my interaction, so I just want to share a little story about, yeah, when you decided to apply and then you wanted to have a conversation, about it because you were like, why am I having these feelings? I don't want to have these feelings about doing this program, and I have it and to join. And what does that mean? But the part that I found so incredible and so refreshing is that even though you had all these questions and you were uncertain and you were doubtful, and it's like, I know my spirit, my heart are pulling me this direction. I don't really want to go, but I'm going to honor that. But this is the part that I remember about you as a student is you might you just dove in. You
Mm,
just dove into the deep end. You were just like, all right, she's saying this stuff really works and she's saying it's going to help me. And I know you were going through a lot of turmoil at the time and you were able
mhm,
to just, if this works, I'm going to use it. And that's what I loved about having you as
mm,
someone who was learning with me, because it was just like you would just go so deep and you just
mm,
went like so full on. And I learned a lot from how you worked with yourself. And
mm.
it's like,
Thank you.
yeah, I love it. I loved it. Yeah.
It really was kind of a life raft for me. I could not, this is the thing that I've told folks, who ask me about the program or interested in it. It's like, I don't know if it was because I signed up that then my whole world got turned upside down, or if like my spirit knew my world was going to get turned upside down and was like, you're going to need a lifeboat through this time. I don't know which it was, but it really did become that. And truly, my whole world was turned around during that time. So yeah, when people ask me about it, I of course highly recommend, and I kind of am like, and buckle up because
That's right.
because you're calling in some some changes that your human person can't know, doesn't know fully what
Yeah.
they are yet. Like you're saying yes to something and
Yeah.
it's gonna change you.
Yeah. 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 You're not falling apart. You're falling together. It just might feel like you're falling apart.
Uh-huh.
And you're such a great reader. And I'm so glad every time I see you putting it out there. Okay, I'm opening up for readings again. Because it's just, are you on my referral list?
It's funny, I was just remembering I need to get back on it because I um had shut down my website for a while because I was revamping everything. And so Kathy was like,
Okay.
oh, this isn't working, but I need to get back on the list.
Okay, yeah, because we
Yeah.
have a lot of people that are really signing up to the list, and but yeah, I'm so glad, and so fun to see all the things that you're doing, and you seem really super happy, super happy.
Thank
That's
you.
great. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I feel like life is really up leveling all the time. So,
all the time, and it's like,
yeah.
okay, what spirit have in store for us around this corner?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, well, thank you again for reaching out. I know you reached out
Yeah.
and it was like, of course, I would always, any of my students that I've worked with, you're my number one priority. And I always tell people I'm pretty even keeled, but my mother bear comes out for any of my students. If someone says that reading wasn't very good, I'm like, what's their phone number? What's the Let me call them and tell them what for.
It's
So, of
good that you have
course.
our back. Thanks so
Got your
much,
back.
Nancy.
Always
Yeah,
got your back.
I
All
feel
right,
that.
everyone. Take good care.
Yeah, thanks, Nancy.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Priestess of Ordinary Things, a podcast for spiritual misfits, modern mystics, and folks of all genders tasked with tending the sacred in everyday life. If you're a spiritual misfit who feels lost, stuck, or hungry for connection and wanting more resources for being more grounded in your relationship to your body and to the earth, go to my website at www.katefontana.com/earth-magic and get the free gift I created just for you. It's called Earth Magic, 3 simple celebrations of spiritual nourishment. Also, make sure to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if there's something you heard here that was meaningful to you, please let me know in the comments. I read all of them, and it really helps me know that I'm speaking to real people and not just out into empty space. Lastly, if there's someone in your life you think could benefit from what you heard here, I'd be so grateful if you'd share it with them. You belong here. Don't give up. May we dance through these times, awake and together.